The frost will soon descend on Victoria's high country and snowfalls will blanket the peaks. And in the Alpine Valley, some crops will lie dormant till the spring. One crop that especially likes its winter slumber is green tea. And this season's crop is about to come to a close. Tea growing is a fledgling industry in Australia, but a mix of Japanese expertise and Australian enterprise is brewing a beautiful brew.
As the clouds swirl over the neighbouring peaks, George Burrell is going through his morning ritual, brewing and drinking a good strong cup of tea. Nothing remarkable about that, except that it's his own tea, grown outside his back door, and that it's green and extremely valuable, especially in far-off Japan.
I might as well try the product I produce.
Soon, George Burrell is at the controls of the harvester, skimming across his hedgerows of tea, trimming them as neat as a cottage garden. There's added excitement about this harvest. It's the first time the fledgling industry here has beaten its biggest enemy, the weather. The Kiwa Valley lies in the shadow of Mount Bogong, Victoria's highest mountain. And while the tea plant enjoys a cold winter, spring frost on these delicate green shoots is disastrous. In the past few years, on the eve of the harvest, tea growers here have had to endure the smell of frost damage. Frost-bitten young shoots give off a pungent burnt odour, and the damaged plants take months to recover.
If you don't get that first pick, you're not viable, basically. So, and EDON's not viable, so we needed to do that.
The solution was to install elaborate spray irrigation systems throughout the plantation. It was expensive, but when frost threatens, a good dousing of water keeps the ice at bay. So what is it about the first pick that is so crucial?
It's basically because it comes out of dormancy during the winter. It's 2 or 3 months dormancy, and then it shoots out and it's got all its energy into the first flush, and that's why it's so good. It is a better tasting tea than second and third pick. So yes, it's most valuable, so that's why we needed to invest a fair bit of money in trying to protect it.
When you get to the start of the season, you get very small leaves. We look for the amino acid content and the fibre content of the leaves, and at this time of the year they're sort of perfect for making good tea. So at this stage it's very similar to the Japanese quality tea leaf.
Nowhere in the world is green tea so prized and celebrated as Japan. For centuries, ceremonial tea making has been a prominent cultural practice. EDON capitalised on that tradition by developing canned tea in the 1980s. With a growing global demand for traditional loose leaf and canned tea, the company needed to look beyond its shores for the raw product. In 1993, it came to evaluate the soils and alpine climate of northeastern Victoria.
This area is almost similar to where they grow it in Japan, and obviously that's the reason why they grew it. They've been here for a long time, EDON, to do trials, so they wouldn't have grown it here if they didn't feel it was the area to grow it.
The first commercial plantings took place in 2001, so these plants are only now reaching full production. Getting this far has been a long and often slow haul for both the tea growers and the Japanese company.
EDON has been very patient, and I suppose we've been patient as well. We had our little issues, but it seems to be all going quite well. The tea's coming out of the factory quite well at the moment, the first harvest, so that's good.
Bring it into the factory in evaporative air conditioning. It's a living product and we have to keep it fresh.
The delicate art of making green tea blends modern technology with some age-old practices.
So what can you learn from snipping? Basically the freshness of it. looking for signs of overheating and fermenting, basically, and then also just a visual check for contaminants. Could be spiders or dust.
Our factories, I suppose, a lot of touch and feel. Green teas, when they're doing the processing, is all about the feel of the leaf. We look at the texture, the moisture content, the heat. We then have to taste the tea, and we're looking for nice watercolour when it's brewed, a nice aroma. We don't want to be getting anything that's going to be off-putting to a consumer to enjoy the tea. So we want to make sure that it's correct all the way through the process. So a lot of tasting, a lot of touching, a lot of feeling, very, very hands-on.
Delicate art and an intricate art.
It really is an intricate art.
It takes about 3 years to become a proficient tea maker. Initially, all the trained tea makers at the Wangaratta factory were Japanese. By next year, the locals should be competent and confident enough to go it alone. So there's much riding on Paul Stanford's senses.
Mainly a good, nice, strong colour and flavour, nice, strong flavours.
Tea grower Erin Angelini says the early harvest tea, the most sought after of all, certainly warrants its status at the top of the tree.
It's like a savoury flavour, and in the tea it sort of makes a creamy, brothy, sweet flavour. And because it's got lots of antioxidants and sugars and amino acids, it has lots of depth to the first harvest. So every brewing and taste, you can actually taste different flavours in the tea.
So what must be avoided?
Tannins and amino acids, and nothing that's sort of overcooked or anything that's burnt that indicates that it might be fermenting.
In short, no red colouring, which indicates the tea is oxidising, because its absence is what makes green tea green.
Black tea and green tea, same plant, the camellia sensor, but it's just a process in the factory is different. Green tea's basically not fermented. Black tea's fermented. Yeah, it's just a process.
But don't think for a moment that growing tea is easy. Ito N may be a corporate giant with an annual turnover rivalling that of Coca-Cola, but there were no easy shortcuts.
They looked at China, they looked at South America, they even looked at New Zealand, but they ended up coming here first to look at Victoria. They were invited by the Victorian government to look in the valleys, and they started researching around Alexandra.
That was in 1993. 2 years later, trial plantings began, and with a handful of farmers signed up, commercial plantings took place 5 years later.
And we haven't planted any tea since 2006. But once the tea's in the ground, it takes 8 years for it to become fully mature. So it won't be until sort of 2014 season till we can realise 100% of the yield from our current plantings. But it's hoped in the next few years we can plant some extra farms and slowly expand from there.
In 2004, the $10 million factory was unveiled. It's now capable of processing 18 tonnes of tea a day. But for the time being, that has put a cap on new plantings. Extra tea would require another factory. Ito N's arrival was most timely. Several of the region's 9 tea farmers formerly grew tobacco.
Our main production was tobacco, and it was the only thing we were doing, and it's a high-intensive crop, tobacco.
Australia's tobacco industry and its growers were also being squeezed by cheap labour countries, and the industry was besieged on a range of fronts because of the harmful health effects of smoking. In 2006, the industry accepted a federal government buyout. Dave Angelini could also see that tobacco's time was up and has no regrets about the end of the industry.
Per hectare, I haven't done the sums, but for peace of mind, one, it's good for you, green tea, and two, the labour input isn't huge. I run this 4.2 hectares by myself, and it's not a full-time job, so with respect to that, it's really good, because tobacco was quite labour intensive. The way we did it back in '95 when we got out, it was a 13-month season, so it was pretty tough on us, but this is quite easy. It's a good lifestyle now, so that's what I'm after. That's why I came back to the farm for, a good lifestyle, so I think I'm close to achieving that.
Green tea has allowed the trained engineer to follow his heart, But today, Dave Angelini is anxious to see his plantation picked. Trouble is, there's only one tea harvester and he has to wait in line.
I'm just basically taking a sample to send off to the factory so they can test quality parameters, so they can schedule in the optimum time for harvest. They'll be checking things such as fibre and amino acid content, which is the main two quality parameters that we're judged on.
With growing knowledge of how to grow it here, the quality of the local product is on the rise. This tea tends to have a milder taste than its Japanese counterpart, but head office is happy with the product. And it has the benefit of being produced during the Northern Hemisphere's off-season. The tea plant is part of the camellia family and needs constant pruning. Like wine, the final taste and quality depends on soil and climate. It's no coincidence that the world's best tea comes from higher altitudes, where the plant grows slowly, concentrating the flavours, but running the risk of frost.
Since we first opened our factory in 2004, we've had frosts every single September and October. It damaged the company quite badly some years. In 2006, 2007, we lost 90% of our crop.
Now almost all the farmers have installed frost protection, and it's already paying dividends. The locals have been watching with great interest.
It is the first year that we've managed to produce the first harvest for Edo N, which is fantastic. They've invested a lot of money in allowing the farmers to put in frost protection systems. So most of the farmers have got that in, and we're looking at a really good harvest, so we're pretty excited.
It probably accounts for about 50% of their income for the year. So if they happen to get frosted, it's quite detrimental to what they can achieve this year.
The Angelinis are also selling their tea directly through farmers' markets as far away as Melbourne and by mail order, and with the blessing of the parent company.
They said, yeah, no worries, go for it. We want the Australian public to know about Australian green tea.
I think a lot of people know that green tea is good for you, and a lot of people are not expecting green tea to taste good.
The Angelinis say that this high-quality tea is much nicer tasting than the ordinary, but the parent company is not buying into talk of its possible health benefits.
Look, people are always talking about its antioxidant effects, fighting cancer and that type of thing. We just want to make a high-quality green tea that people can enjoy. Edo N is a world leader in green tea, especially Japanese green tea, and learning directly from the Japanese has been a great experience.
The second harvest tea, grown in the full summer sun from early January to March, has its own distinctive flavour.
Peppermint tea sort of gives you a refreshing taste to your mouth. That's what our pure green's like. It's very clear, refreshing tea.
And if that's not to your taste, Dave and Erin Angelini produce a roasted tea.
It's like a puffed rice tea, so it's a woody, nutty tea. I like to say that our first harvest is our intriguing tea, because it's got all those different things in it to make an intriguing taste. Our pure green's our refreshing tea, and our roasted's our comforting tea.
While Erin Angelini still needs an off-farm job, their sideline is expanding, and the couple is now looking for national distributors. Edo N sales are also on the rise.
Initially we were set up just to supply the Japanese domestic market. Various things happened since we were set up, and a lot of our tea now goes to North America in bottles, but we're now also selling small amounts into Australia. So there's various tea shops, Queensland, New South Wales, Sydney, and just a shop in Perth has just taken it on. So we're selling only loose leaf tea at the moment, but we've also started importing ready-to-drink beverages from our parent company.
This year the company will launch an organic green tea and begin producing tea bags. The tradition of picking, curing and drinking tea leaves dates back more than 3,000 years to China. This fragrant evergreen shrub continues to find new horizons.
I still find that talking to people, they're just absolutely amazed that tea is grown in Victoria, and then absolutely amazed that then that tea is sold to Japan. People are gobsmacked.